Hey Jordan, how are you doing? Hey Kwan, how is everyone doing today? Super. Nice to know, Jordan. Give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey Val, good morning. Seems a bit quiet today. Any trades? Anyone with a trade? Bank of England interest rates decision tonight. So Jordan just said I have to redo all drawings on my charts. Accidentally deleted them all on every chart and trading view. No clue how to manage that. Jordan, I wish I had the solution for you, but I don't. And I've done that on MT4 before. I haven't done it on TradingView yet, so I haven't couldn't give you a solution on that. Hey PM, how you doing? Dollar tumbled yesterday. Yeah, well, it shot up and then it tumbled. Selling the Aussie since yesterday PM. Very good, very good. Same thing. TP on the Aussie dollar, my analysis. So much. You're most welcome there, Kwan. Do share it in the Discord channel as well. Make sure you share um, your trades. Even if you did get into something that we spoke about, share it. Let us know that you've closed out the trade on take profit or whether you closed out early. Put it in there. Happy to find out more as well. Okay. Hey Kwabi, how you doing? 1 more minute and we will start. Alrighty. Alrighty, let's get started. So, 1 second. Okay. Welcome again, Daily Market Analysis. If you are new to the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. I always want to find out. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you for joining me. We have been doing quite well over the last couple of days with our trade setups. So hope you have been, like I was sharing in the group that We can share all the trade setups every day. It's all down to you about choosing the setup to enter and actually taking action on it. So if you do get into a trade and if you do hit a take profit level or close out in a profit, share it in the Discord channel. You know, it's really your credit taking the action, taking the execution. All right, so share that as well. I'm sniffing a bit today. So with that said, also quick reminder again, at any point in time, if you feel like this is a good session, it's meeting whatever you wanted to achieve, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button. Helps us get more people watching onto the stream, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TradingView, whether it's on trading.live. Do help me out getting more people onto it. The link is there again for you guys to join the Discord channel to take our discussions beyond this 1 hour session. And then what we'll also, the Discord channel is really there to give you my views, ongoing views about the markets. If I do get into a trade, if I look to get out of a trade, what I'm considering while we're in a trade as well. Okay, so make sure you do join the channel. And big hello to Robbie without the glasses. Booba did ask a question about explaining false breakouts at the support resistance levels. I will answer that later when we look at the charts. Hey Michael, how are you doing from Nigeria? And Smart Food says, will you do live trading session until news release like you said yesterday? Most likely I will. I do have some things planned, but most likely I will be running it through to the BOE tonight at 7 p.m. GMT +8. So, you know, I'll put that condition down. I'll run that session. I'll keep the session running so long as you guys keep watching. All right, so long as you guys keep watching. And if we see a very good, I don't know what's considered very good, but if we see a very good thumbs up or reaction on the YouTube channel or the YouTube stream. Okay, so with all that said, if you have any questions at any point in time, you guys have already been doing it. Very good job there. Put it into the chat. Let me know any particular pairs you'd like me to look at, anything you'd like me to explain further. I'll be happy to do that. A quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Please do your own due diligence because the contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. I say this so often, I'm pretty sure you have already memorized this, but I do have to repeat it every day just so that you guys know it's not 100% always going to make money. It's not something that you would set and forget. I really intend these sessions for me to share with you my ideas, my trade setups, things I'm considering. If it aligns with your own analysis, then it should give you a little bit more confidence with your trades. Not really a trade signal kind of service. You know, it's really the education discussions that's what I'm trying to promote. Okay, so it works a lot better if you ask questions, you interact, and then eventually when it aligns with your own analysis, you take action. Hey BL, how you doing? Hey Carsten, hi Minal. So with that, let's look at what happened overnight. So last night, we saw the US ADP number being released. Very surprisingly, well, it was 497 revised down to 455. They were expecting a 191K to be released. And, you know, we were talking there, we had quite an extended analysis on the ADP non-farm. We were thinking, or I was thinking that it would be about that 200 to 250 number. Most of you guys did anticipate that it would be higher than forecasted. But I did not expect it to come out at 300 level, right? I thought 250 would be about 250, maybe even 280 at the most, but for it to come out at 300 was a little bit surprising from my point of view. And what we actually saw, the reaction to this ADP, US ADP non-farm employment change at 8:15 p.m. GMT plus 8 yesterday was the dollar index at 8 shooting up. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit more. Right, so we actually saw that at 8 right there, spiking to the upside, breaking above that 102.40, 102.50 level, went up to as high as 102.77 before retracing back down again, and then now still trending to the upside. So I scribbled that on yesterday. The anticipation was that it would remain within that range, thinking that the ADP non-farm was going to be in that 200 range. So I thought that the dollar index would come up, hit the resistance, and turn back down. At 300 plus, that's why we saw that break, that strong break to the upside. Okay, so that was the news from last night. As the dollar strengthened, we saw pretty much everything lose ground against the dollar, and that's why we saw, I'll show you the other charts where everything, the Kiwi dollar, for example, continued dropping lower. The Aussie dollar traded lower as well. Okay, so that was the news, and then on to today. Nothing much else, right? Nothing much today. We did have the Swiss CPI number month on month, came out as expected. I don't think it did too much. I wasn't paying too much attention to this. I'm sitting there, I'm waiting. We do have a whole bunch of services PMI number to be released. Again, I'm not too concerned about that. The main focus for today, especially for me, especially today, will be the Bank of England interest rate decision. Right, the Bank of England interest rate decision. Official bank rate looking to go from a 5 to a 5.25%. Right, so we are looking at a possible 25 basis point rate hike to come from the Bank of England. And then a bit of a headliner there is 3 hours ago, the Bank of Japan announced unscheduled bond buying, second time this week. That's why we saw the US yen, right, push up at that point. So that was 3 hours ago, right, push up. And then also the other headliner, Bank of Japan intervenes to buy unlimited 10-year. We have that. Where was it? Bank of England may slow pace of UK rate hikes, right? Possibly going to do this 25 basis points. I think that the slowdown is probably going to not be at this meeting. I think the slowdown will be at or will be indicated for the next meeting. Okay. So we're looking at that as the main focus at 7 p.m. GMT plus 8. With that, I think that's going to be a big price mover. And then ISM services PMI for the US at 53, not a big change expected there. So what I would be more directed towards, my trading would be more directed towards for today. I will be looking at all the major currency pairs. The main focus will still be on the pound dollar. Maybe I'll look at the pound yen. Maybe I'll look at in the very rare scenario, I'll look at the euro pound. But I'll keep my trades quite short term today, right? Especially on the pound dollar, because tomorrow we do have the non-farm employment change numbers to be released. Again, not expecting a big surprise driven by the ADP, but It was 209. It's expected 203. You know, it looks like a number. You know, how I approach this is the previous number and the forecasted, not a big change there. So any upset or any beat to the upside or the downside, it's going to affect not just the forecasted but the previous. So we could see quite a significant volatility here on the non-farm employment change, right? Because if they came out at 250, right? For example, if non-farm employment change came out at 250 or even 300, it would have beaten previous and forecasted. So you'd see a massive change in the or massive volatility in the dollar index. If it comes out at 180, for example, then you'd see it beat on the downside the forecasted and the previous data. So it's right at that balance point where we could see quite significant swings or volatility because the data is going to beat both aspects. Okay, hope that makes sense to you, but I'll tell you more about the non-farm tomorrow as we look at how price develops overnight into tomorrow. One thing to quickly share with you guys is that I shared this in the Discord group. So always get there to get the early news. I did write taking a while to load. I did write an analysis on the Bank of England decision, which could send the pound dollar lower. Okay, so you can always check out that analysis as well. So it gives you a bit more of a detailed analysis there. Okay, take that away. So now with all that said about the fundamentals, about the news, what else could happen? Let's look at the dollar index. As we have been talking, the dollar has been climbing steadily to the upside. This trend line that I drew is being supported. In fact, there is now a bit of a steeper trend line to, oops, hang on, my computer is being a bit laggy. Those couple of things. Okay. Right, there is a bit of a steeper trend line that is supporting this upward move. Currently at 102.80. I think that the momentum for the dollar is still pushing to the upside. Right, it's broken above that previous high, so we can take that away. And now we're looking at it. That 103 level is coming into play. 103 is coming into its range. You can take this one away. Check something. It is broken above 78.6 as well. Okay, so we can take this away because it's no longer valid. That away as well. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is, I'm trying to get a whole view of this. Okay, what I'm looking at here is the dollar continuing on with that push to the upside, supported by the trend line. Right, longer term trend line is there. We can take that away as well. Okay, so now I'm looking at this and I'm considering that we could see this, well, naturally we look at this continue to push to the upside from 102.80 up towards that 103 level. Quite a good space there to continue pushing up towards 103, as high as 103.15. Why I'm hesitating, what I'm considering now is whether it's going to break this level to the upside. All right, that's why I'm hesitating. I'm thinking a bit. I think what we could see All right, what I think could happen here is that make it look reasonable. Okay. I think we're going to see it sit at one. It's very close to that 103 level, right? Just testing this point. I would actually like to see the dollar index retrace a little bit. So that we saw that big retrace and then it bounced back up. I would like to see it retrace a little bit more. Okay, but overall I still think it's going to go up. Okay, so what I think is likely or like to see is this move towards that resistance level. Right, if it does this for today, I'll be super happy, because at that point, then tomorrow's non-farm payroll number, we could see another push to the upside. What I would not like to see is if the dollar goes all the way to the middle, then we're going to be right in the middle with a lot more, right in the middle, and it's just going to be a bit more fickle being at that point. Very technical term, fickle, right? But I would say that that's what we're looking for. So Robbie's question is, for the dollar index, do I still use the 200 to 250 pip spacing? Robbie, I've changed it because we do this on the H1 time frame. So Robbie has learned from me from many years ago, where I would encourage on the H4 time frame support resistance levels of at least 200 pips distance, right? Distance of at least 200 pips. At this point, because we're on the H1 time frame, we don't have that 200 pip so-called mandate or rule. Right now, we're really looking at swing levels, right? Swing levels or round number levels as a support and resistance points. Okay, hope I answer your question there, Robbie. So, okay, that makes sense. I like this. Today being the 3rd of August, I'm looking, ideally, I would like to see the dollar index retrace slightly, but overall uptrend towards 103 resistance. Okay. Hey, Angel Case, good morning. How you doing? Hi, Ayakame. Okay, so that's what I would like to see. To retrace slightly, but overall we're looking for the uptrend. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Couldn't make this fit. Okay. Okay, I'll be happy with that. I'm happy with that move. In any case, if it does retrace further, maybe towards the 102.55 level, I'll still be looking for that upward move. Right, so it could come down to the trend line, or it could do all the way down, but I'm still looking for that upward push. I think this is a more valid view. Okay, so with that, then looking at the... Hi, Shimao from the Maldives. Good to have you with us. Then looking at the Kiwi dollar. So yesterday we were looking at the Kiwi dollar, saying that if it broke below this low at 0.61, we could see it trading lower, down, right? You were saying sell down 6090.20 to 60 pips. 6090 sell down 20 to 60 pips to the downside, with a consideration at 0.6060, right at that point. Did you get into the Kiwi dollar trade? Let me know if you got in, because you would be in about how much? Let's say about a 20 pip profit right now. You'll be a 1:1 risk to reward profit right now. right? If you were targeting that 60 pips, then you could move your stop loss to break even, let it run. But I would actually say that at this point, maybe I would suggest to close out the trade. If you're already running if you already have that trade running, I would close out. That consolidation doesn't look great. I'll take that away. That consolidation here doesn't look super. It's very close to that. It's only 10 pips away from where we thought would be a hesitation area, anticipating that the dollar index could retrace a little bit before maybe bouncing back up. I think that we could see this bounce a little bit as well. Very nice, Robbie. Got out a few hours ago, 30 pips. Very good. Okay, so I think that because of this consolidation, I think we might see a bit of a bounce. We might see a bit of a bounce. Either a consolidation at this point, or we're going to see a bit of a bounce and then maybe a turn back down again. Okay. If it consolidates, then I'll be looking to sell down as it breaks that support, very tight levels. So ideally, I would like to see it bounce, test that 0.61 again before turning back down. As we speak, it is reducing back down. I think it's going to do that. Okay, so what I would be looking for, not a high priority trade. Right, not a high priority trade. I would look for it to test and reject 6090 again. Give it a bit of space. Stop loss height at 20 pips. Take profit. You could be looking at, again, I will actually do the same thing. 60 pips to the downside, 20 pips stop loss. Right, look for that test and reject. If it repeats at 30 pips, get out near that support level. Okay, so I'll maintain this view on the Kiwi dollar. Only thing I'll change here is I'm looking for retracement to upside, sell on completion. Right, so I'm looking for it to retrace, not completion, on rejection, sorry. Right, so I'm looking for it to retrace to the upside, and then I'm looking to sell back down on rejection. I would say that maybe, take that away, maybe if it does consolidate and break down, it might not be the best trade to sell. Let's have a look. If it breaks down from this point, then we have a very close level here. Even if it breaks down from here, your profit level is only about 30 pips, right? 35 at the most. I wouldn't be too keen. And then if it breaks down from this point, we have the next support level here. Okay, so that's what I would be looking at. I think if it just turns down from here, like that, that's not worth taking that risk, right? I would say that it moved, but I wouldn't have been able to catch that. It's not worth that trade. I would like to see it bounce and then sell down. Okay, so that's the Kiwi dollar. And Robbie made money on that. After entering the trade, I moved my stop loss to the entry price. Once the market moved 20 pips in my favor, reverse hit my stop loss and resulted in a loss. Oh, okay. Yeah, it did bounce back up a little bit. I think it was a little bit too early to move the stop loss to the entry price. Actually, if it did move to entry price, you would break even and shouldn't be a loss or tiny loss in terms of spread. So I normally like to see it move about that 30-ish pips before I would put move my stop loss down to break even, or at least some positive, secure some positive pips. Then I'll let it run. Okay. I was not interested in the way it was moving. Yep, fair enough, Kwabi. Okay, so that was the Kiwi dollar. Now looking at the Aussie, I was really happy with this. Did catch the Aussie to the downside, closed out on that trade already, because as I was sharing with you guys in the group that I was looking at it, right? Let me just take this away. So I closed out a bit earlier at about that I think about that 40 pip level. Okay, but as I came into the office, I did a quick update to everyone in Discord that although I do think that the Aussie is going to continue to the downside, I was expecting it to consolidate along this level for a while, right? And it did, right? So I came in at about 8 a.m. there, and then it consolidated at that point. Now that it's looks like it's breaking up that consolidation, I wouldn't rush into it yet. Okay, why I wouldn't rush into it? It is still at yesterday's low point. Right, it is still at yesterday's low point. It broke slightly, look like it's bouncing back up, grabbing some liquidity, as some of you would say, bouncing back a little bit. So again, I wouldn't be rushing into that trade. We are seeing a big downward push on the Aussie, like that, sticking very close to that trend line. Hi AYJ, how are you doing? You're most welcome there, Kwan. I would say that this is still a consolidation on the Aussie. Then as I look into the right across, it's right in the middle of that support and resistance level. Even if I pull, no, I would be happy with the resistance being here. Right, I'm considering this whole point as a resistance area. I'm considering this whole thing as my resistance area. I'm looking at this point, anticipating that the Aussie could trade lower, consolidate. I don't like that it's in the middle. So if you were looking to sell it down, 0.6510. Oh, that's a bit far away. 6520. Okay, it needs to close below 6520. Your stop loss could be about 25 pips, just top of that recent range. And then your take profit would be about 50 pips towards that support. Could deal with that. I think similar to the Kiwi dollar, I think it's going to do that. Okay, we go to that. So I would say Aussie would be 6520. Away. Fine. 25 pip and 50 pips to the downside. Right? Again, if you had that trade running, or you still have that trade running, then hold on to it, or secure some profits, and then you could try and let it run lower. Why I do tend to get out when it consolidates, because you just never know how much it's going to bounce by. Right? It could sit there, it could bounce up a bit, hit your stop loss, and turn back down. So I normally close out until it breaks the level, and we could look to get back in again. Make sense so far on the Aussie and also on the Kiwi dollar? Let me know, put it into the chat if it makes sense, if it's all good. Bobby says, I'd like to see the pullbacks to enter a sell. Yes, that's right. If you're a little bit more aggressive, then you could also be looking to sell as it rejects this point. Right? So you could be looking for it to go up, hit, and then you could look to sell. The risk of selling right at that point will be that it remains within the range and then becomes very a quick trade becomes dragged out. So I would just be more cautious about that. Then on to the yen. I think I updated to you guys, closed out on the yen. Some of you could have moved your stop loss up. It shot up, right? We were looking at this. It did not retrace as much before shooting up. Why is it shooting down? Let me just do a quick check. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, PM. There's no big news apart from this one 3 hours ago on the yen. So I'm a little bit surprised to see it have that big correction down from 143.670 right now down to 143 round number. Okay, did have a trade on the yen, closed that out already. What I did last night, I was absolutely exhausted, so I had some levels, orders that I just set and let it run. At this point, good question there is that, you know, should we see the yen trading lower? I would say that, you know, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the yen could trade quite a bit lower, but I wouldn't be looking to sell it down. Right? Would that make sense? You know, it could trade lower, but I wouldn't be looking to sell it down just because of that big upward move. You've seen the Bank of Japan buying unlimited bonds again. Could come down to this point, now that it's breaking. Again, I would still be looking at it as much as it can drop, it would be a buying opportunity. Right? As much as it can drop, it would be a buying opportunity. It will present a better buying opportunity than going for counter trend. Like I was saying yesterday, it is early into the month, so I would be less tempted to go aggressive on the counter trend. So what I'm looking at here, I'm just thinking that if in the next 20 minutes, if it does close and break this level, we do have a weak, bit of a skewed double top, come down, then we could see it bounce back up. Okay, it needs to break this. What would be really interesting if it comes down here and then bounces back up? Then we're going to see a massive upside because we would see a bit of a inverted head and shoulder being formed. Right? So it happens at this 142.70 level for retrace. Alternatively is that it could come down to the support at 142. Right? It is a 100 pip move to the down, potentially a 100 pip move to the downside. If you're comfortable with doing counter trend, you could look to sell it down. But I would be looking for either a reaction at 23.6, but more likely I think we could see 38.2 because it's just in that area. Right, so I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for this. Okay, so how I'll look at this is still a buying opportunity if it bounces off 23.6. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's come back to the US yen. I want to see how this move develops first. So we'll do that a little bit later. Okay, then as US yen on the daily time frame. Still forming up nicely. Yeah, it's at this 143 level that is really struggling. Right? You can see the tail one time. Looks like it's forming another rejection. So it's really struggling at that 143 level. That's why I want to see how it goes over the next. Let's see how it goes before we form a view on this on H1 time frame. I want to see what happens at 143. Okay. Then as BL is asking about the Aussie yen. So we looked at Aussie look at that. It's dropping. So you could be looking at Aussie breaking. Might not do that. Look for it to break lower. $3 still sitting there. So Aussie looking like it's pushing lower. US yen pushing lower. So Aussie yen, naturally, we would be looking at it turning down significantly. Aussie coming down. US yen coming down. So Aussie yen to the downside, I would say that give it at 20 minutes, you could be looking for further downside potential on the Aussie yen. I would like to see a brief retrace. 50 pip stop loss, could go for 100, almost 120 pip, take profit to the downside. 110 pips, 50 to 110 to the downside. If it doesn't retrace, then about 93.45, I would say even a 50 to 100 will be reasonable there on the Aussie yen. All right, BL. If it continues down like that, 20 minutes, I think if you're outside Bollinger, it should still retrace a little bit. Or you could be looking to scalp it down. Still dropping very strongly. US yen is, I think, okay, I'll come back to that. Well, it would be a good sell point, but we should be looking at buy entries. Yeah, you know, it's really a counter. You could sell it down on a counter trend. So I'll leave that up to you. But in the overall scheme, I would say a longer trend, uptrend. Okay. So pound dollar yesterday we were saying, hey, if it breaks above that high, we could see it push up. It did not happen. In fact, we saw a double top, very similar to the euro that we were talking about yesterday. We saw a double top and a big push to the downside. So take that away. That did not happen, did not trigger. Broke lower. Right, and I'll show you why. You read the analysis. We have that big upward trend line on the daily time frame on the pound dollar. Then on the H4, we see it now breaking that point. So down to the H1. And I'll also show you this. I'm just not going to draw it out, but I'll just show you this. On the pound dollar, right? On the 11th of May, when the Bank of England hiked rates by 25 basis points, we actually saw the pound dollar trade to the downside, right? Despite a rate hike. And then on the 22nd of June, when the Bank of England surprised the markets with a 50 basis point rate hike, we saw a brief spike up. It only went from 1.2775 to 1.2843 or 45. Not a big move before coming back down and eventually trading lower again. So what you see here, or what you should see here, is that we are seeing the results of the Bank of England rates decision. Typically does have a downward push despite a rate hike. Okay, so coming back to this, we are looking at, I don't know why is it behaving so slowly, spare me. We are looking at potentially more downside for the pound dollar, right? We saw it, 25 basis point rate hike, downside, 50 basis point rate hike, brief spike before more downside. Now again with the short-term trend still pushing to the downside, I would say that as the dollar retraces, is going to give us a good opportunity, right? Right now at that 1.27 level, I would like to see, we can take this away. I would like to see the pound dollar climb slightly. I'd like to see it climb back up to this point. So could sit there. I'd like to see this, then I'll look to sell it down tonight during the interest rate decision. Because if they increase, we might see a brief spike before dropping. If they don't increase, then we'll definitely or most likely see a drop again. So about 1.2730. Stop loss could be quite tight at about 30 pips. Take profit, I would, because it's a news event, I would say even 110 to the downside. Okay, there we go. Pound dollar, sell 1.2730. Stop loss 30, take profit 100, 110 to the downside. Okay, Matic said massive morning, yen ripping. Yes, it was. Bank of Japan topped out the 10-year yield. Skewed is for higher yields on the Japanese treasuries. Yes. Skynet says hi. Good morning, Skynet. Do I think that the US credit downgrade will have much effect on the dollar index? It's not a silly question, Jordan. There's no silly questions. Typically, the downgrade does, if it's a significant well, no, every downgrade is significant. But in terms of the downgrades, we haven't seen it affect the dollar index too much. Right? We haven't seen downgrades affect the dollar index too much. It does have a bigger impact on or we've seen evidence of it having bigger impact on the stock markets, on the equity markets, but not so much on the dollar index. In terms of why, I am possibly at this point not in the right position to answer that. I haven't really looked into it too much. Okay, so don't think it will have much of impact on the dollar index, or it hasn't, because that downgrade was a couple of days ago and we've still seen the dollar index push to the upside. Okay, so back to the pound dollar. Yes, looking for a bit of a retrace. Test of that longer term trend line, which is in green. Test of that short term downward trend line, and test of that resistance. I like that confluence. Test, reject, and push back down. Okay, and this gives me the good opportunity to answer Buba's question. Right, this is right time to answer Buba's question about false breakouts on candle close above resistance or below support. So how do we know when it's a false, likely to be a false breakout, right? When do we know it's likely to be a false breakout? For example, in this scenario, if we see price climb, up and hit this level or even break, right? So I'll take this away for now. Okay, if we see price climb up from here and break above, okay, then I would be at this point thinking whether is it a real break or false break, right? Is it a real break or false break? At that point, the way to know is to sit and wait, right? Sit and wait, because I want a candle to close above. And I would be looking at it to say, only if it closes above this point, right? So I know that it's broken. I'll wait for the next one. If it breaks up, then I'll say, okay, great. It's a good break to the upside. Then from this point, can I look to buy it up? Okay. Then if it sits there and then it doesn't close above, all right, it doesn't continue to the upside, it just sits there and then it comes back down, then I know that we've avoided a false break and we're looking for that continuation to the downside on the pound dollar. There's no hard and fast rule, or there's very subjective rules on identifying a false break, but I would do that. And then also another one is that I wouldn't consider the resistance as just at one line, right? That's why I have this point there. I would say it's broken up. This whole thing is my resistance area. So the only time I will consider it as broken my resistance is when it breaks above that area formed by that high. Okay, hope I answered your question there, Buba. And good information, good question, and good information for everyone else as well. That's a very common question everyone asks. How do I avoid a false break? And the way to do it is really to wait and let price develop a little bit more. Okay. I'm looking at the pound dollar. If it doesn't want to retrace, then I don't want it to move too much right now. I'm hoping it's not going to move too much right now, because then we will have a bit more opportunity to sell it down. If not, then below 1.26, we would see a next level down at 1.2, almost 1.25, or slightly beyond 1.25. Right, we will watch this during the session as we look for what could happen on the pound dollar with the Bank of England rates this. Okay, now with that, looking at the euro dollar, also pushing to the downside. Right, so we were talking about this in the group. Euro dollar tested. Right, so yesterday we were saying euro dollar sell 1.0930, 25 to 60. Tested this level, breakdown, look to sell down. I got stopped out here because my stop loss was right there. 25 pips got stopped out on the euro. Today I was looking at that continuation to the downside. Didn't get into this, right? I was looking for it to break below this low here, this equal low here. So just at that point, so I haven't got into that trade. I think that at this point, it was quite good on the euro. Continuation down, could come down to the next support. Big support here at 1.0835. Slight interim level here at 1.0875. So, in 7 minutes, I would say in 7 minutes, if it closes red, if it closes to the downside, then I would be looking to sell it down. So about 1.0910. Stop loss quite wide at 40 pips maximum. Take profit, would be about 70 pips to the downside. So not a super good risk to reward, but I would say that looks like it's going to continue moving to the downside. Just needs to close below this point. You could get in a little bit earlier, but 1.0910 would be a fair level to get in at. Okay, so I would say that the US euro dollar 1.0910, stop loss a bit wide at 40, take profit at about 60 to the downside. What I think is likely to happen on the euro, if it does come down to this point, it could drop quite quickly. Then you could also move your stop loss lower to secure that trade. Rightio? Okay. Then on to the US Swiss franc. Did almost like what we wanted it to do, right? It went up to that point, came back down, tested that trend line, and I did not adjust these lines this arrow. It's happening just as we expected. But right now, still trapped along this resistance level. Hasn't broken to the upside. The dollar index is still retracing slightly. So I think that we are still valid on this setup. Right, it's still valid. The trend line still holds. If it breaks, if the dollar index continues to weaken and it breaks, then we could see a brief break and then bounce back up. But I would say that we're likely to see this hold. Right, maybe break a little bit, but I still think that we could see this move. So I'll maintain this view on the US Swiss franc by 0.8810, stop loss 30, take profit 95. Okay, makes sense so far. Again, big reminder, if you are enjoying the session, do help me out. Click that like button, subscribe button on YouTube, TradingView, and or on trading.live. Then onto the US CAD, onto the Loonie. Did brilliantly. We say it's going to consolidate slightly before breaking to the upside. On the US CAD. I did not get into this trade. I had the Aussie, I had the yen, I had the euro. So I had 3 trades setups ordered. Well, orders pending. Is that the right word? Yeah, orders pending. So I did not put in the US CAD. So I missed out on this. Do let me know if you got onto the US CAD. Okay, so it's coming very close. If you did get into it, it's coming very close to your take profit level. Typically, when it comes this close, I would just close out the trade. So the question now is it going to continue to the upside? And if you look at that big strong trend line, I think it all depends on what happens at this point. So move that a little bit higher at this point. No major news on the CAD, but tomorrow we do have a whole bunch of CAD employment numbers as well. Okay, so I would say that it's fair to expect it to continue pushing up. Dollar index, right, retrace a little bit, now bouncing back again. So I think that this could push up beyond this point. Check the H4 for a level. So this level was applied right across, a little bit higher. So at 1.3380, it breaks past that, then I would say the next point could be at 1.3460, about that point there. Okay, so now back to the H1 time frame, looking at this. Yeah, wait for it. If it breaks above, we can look for that upside like that. 70 pip take profit. 20 25 pip, 20 pip to 25 pip stop loss to the upside, breaking above that resistance. I think that is fair, especially if it does bounce back up. We're going to see the US CAD push further. Okay, so 1.3390, 25 pip stop, 70 pip take. 1.3390, 25 stop loss, 25 take profit. Just while I was typing that, 1.34 is very near. But I do think that it could, once it breaks past this point, and you see a continuation, I think that's a fair move. Okay, although there is a round number at 1.34 being that close, I think we could see it test this level, break through. I think the momentum will carry it through. Hey Vinny, how are you doing from South Africa? Good to have you with us. If it retraces, then it will be most likely seeing the dollar retrace. Right, dollar is retracing a little bit, so I think if it retraces, then wait. It's just going to take a little bit longer, or could take a little bit longer for this to play out. So that's the majors done. Now back to the yen. I wanted to check that. Broke the trend line, broke the support. I think that we are a bit too messy here. Let me take all of that away. I think that that's still a fair expectation. So I think look for it to retrace down 1.142.70, bounce back up. I would be looking for a buy along 143.15. Stop loss tight 30 pips. Take profit 115 to the upside. I wouldn't go all the way, 110. All right, so 143.15, stop loss 30, 110. Oh, same one. Go, same thing. Dollar index looks like it's completed, slightly completed its retracement, but we'll see how that develops. Looking for it to come down slightly for pushing back up. Then onto gold. Send this again. I'll test something. Okay, onto gold. With the way the dollar was shooting up, we were thinking that the dollar was going to range, so we thought gold was going to range as well. Did not range, broke lower, found a good support at 1930. I think this is a very good support on gold, right? A very good support on gold. So it looks like it's tested, bouncing back up. And you know Robbie is going to say he's going to scalp it, right? Right after I finish, Robbie's going to say scalp it. I think that we could see it sit there a little bit, maybe push up, but overall might come back down again. So why I think it could come back down again, because we are looking at this possibly pushing up, dollar index possibly pushing up. So gold looks like it's going to range. If it does break above this point, then we could see it retrace to 1944, but overall still looking for that downward move. Okay, so could retest 1944, rejection of 1944 to go to 1930. So I would say gold. See, I knew Robbie was going to say that, and he's got it exactly what I was going to type. So it's not bounce, but I'll say look for rejection of 1944. Could range back down to 1930. Okay, but it seems like it's a good support. It would be driven mostly by the dollar index. Fair. Now, Buba said, are you looking at the yen index for the yen pairs? I don't really look at the yen index. Not that it's a bad thing, right? Just not a habit of mine. So really what you're comfortable with. You can consider that. Right? Okay. So with all that, let's do a quick run through again, and then I'll keep the stream running for you guys. Kiwi dollar still consolidating, not ready to do anything yet. Aussie dollar threatening to break, something that you could be looking at quite soon, right? Maybe in the next 10 minutes, I think this could happen, right? So I would say that could happen soon, quickly. For that move. So that's also one reason why I want to get off the stream so that I can go focus on that. US yen looks like it's bouncing off this 143 level, a little bit to wait. Pound dollar sitting right there. I would update. If it sits right there, we could sell it down. I'm looking for a bit of a bounce before selling it back down, or dependent on the EOE later. Euro dollar as well, very similar to the Aussie. I think it could happen. Oh, whoops. On that could happen soon. The euro dollar. So it's for now what I see is either between the euro dollar and the Aussie dollar. Squeezy, nope, still testing that trend line. US CAD trending slightly higher, or trending higher, but might take all the way to tonight. I think, yeah, so like I was sharing with you, Aussie dollar or euro dollar. Looking at the pound yen, it's trending down because of the yen, because of the pound dollar as well. I think that as much as I was telling you that I would focus on the pound yen, I think that it's right in the middle. Safer or easier trade for tonight will possibly be the pound dollar, so not too keen. Euro yen, we could still be looking at that view. Right now, bouncing back a little bit because of the yen. I think this could be a setup, but I don't think it's worth the risk. Right? It could do anything in the middle there. So I think this could be a setup, but I don't think it's worth the risk. Okay? Thanks, Thomas. Vinny lost the stream. It might be. I think that something weird is happening on TradingView. Okay. Jordan's asking, I've seen Bitcoin and other cryptos often adhere liquidity zones and order blocks at certain prices. Do those indicators or same rules apply to currency? Yes, it can. Definitely. I have been looking at liquidity zones and order blocks and all that, trying to integrate it into my own analysis. But the approach that I've been adopting for my analysis, I've been doing this for the last 10 years, so it just became a bit second nature to try and adopt additional stuff. I really have to force myself to do it, so I haven't got into that habit yet. But yes, it does work. You just need to have a good understanding of it to take advantage of it. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave the stream on, and then we'll check back again. Unless something crazy comes up, I'll most likely come back on or jump back on at 7, but if not, then I'll update you guys, but the stream is going to be left on for now. Okay, thank you again, Carson. Carson won 3 from 4 trades yesterday. Very good job. Good job, Carson. High five to you. Thank you, Val. Have a great day. If you're staying on to the stream, put it in. Let me know. If you're staying on the stream, put it in. Let me know. I just want to know how many people are staying on. Thank you, Matix. You're most welcome. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate that. Alrighty, super. So I'm gonna end the stream on TradingView. If you want to find out more about the continual stream, jump onto my YouTube. All right, so it's going to be there. So bye bye to all the people on TradingView. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks, Christina. Noticing rejections and reactions on them. Bit new to me. We learn daily. For sure. For sure. Good one, Vel. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to do this and I'll keep updating on the charts for you guys.